All right. Yeah, I'm super stoked sitting down with Topher Jones. Topher is a DJ, recording artist, musician. He's got a lot he's doing in the creative space. Stoked to sit down with you. How's your day going, man?
It's good, just getting the week started and
Yeah,
dreaming, excited for some things happening this week. It's going to be good.
that's awesome. So we've been diving into a really big idea we're calling creativity and justice. And there's a lot to talk about
Yeah.
therein, but yeah, we're exploring creativity and how creativity can lead to maybe social change, making
Mm.
things that are broken whole or more beautiful. Maybe we'll just start with your journey into what you're doing, like how it is you came to be doing the stuff you're doing, and yeah, talk about what you're doing.
Yeah, so I am a DJ, producer, artist. I make music. I run a record label. I have a publishing company as well. And before COVID, was playing shows all over the world. COVID kind of it's been a weird couple years for our industry, but things are coming back. And I'm currently working on an album and then have a big tour this fall.
Okay.
So that's exciting. Um, but yeah, I got into this. I fell in love with hip hop music in middle school.
All right.
And back then, hip hop was very different than it is now. And you'd have these DJs kind of scratching in the background. And I was like, wow, I want to learn how to do that. And so my birthday's a few days after Christmas. I asked my parents, could I combine gift, for birthday and Christmas of turntables? And they gave me turntables. And ever since then, 22 years later, here we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's that like growth process, like the learning curve and just all the discoveries you're making in 22 years? I mean, we could talk a long time.
A lot. I mean, so much has changed. I mean, YouTube didn't exist, streaming didn't exist. Um, I mean, all the ways that we consume music and media, none of it existed back then when I
Wow.
first started. And so it was a whole different world. And I mean, you did it because you loved it, not because it was cool or it was easy or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I started out with vinyl records. Like that's what I started on is actual vinyl records. I had a massive collection, and you'd have to lug these heavy vinyl around if you wanted to go to a friend's house or play a show. And
Yeah.
it's so different now. I throw everything on a USB stick and headphones, and I can go play a show anywhere in the world. It's pretty crazy.
Wow. Wow. And some of your like musical influences, I'd love to explore that. Like just the stuff you love to listen to, stuff that's impacted you as you're making music.
Yeah, I love all sorts of music. I mean, I make house music, and my record label is house music as well. But
Okay.
I spend a lot of time listening to stuff that isn't dance music, just because
Yeah.
I'm around it so much. I want to listen to just other stuff. So,
Yeah.
um, what have I been listening to a lot lately? Uh, I love Sigur Rós. I love
Okay.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Listen to Yonsei. He's the lead singer for Sigur Rós. He did a solo album. It's like one of the happiest albums that's ever been made. I love listening to that. Um, I mean, I used to listen to a lot of hip hop back in the day, like the Beatnuts, Jurassic 5, Tribe Called Quest. Um, I mean, love stuff like Coldplay. I mean,
Yeah.
they're but yeah, I don't know. I guess when I'm in album mode, I'm in a very different place with music. That's like
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull inspiration from places rather than just sitting down and listening to music as a casual fan. So the last, 6 months, it's been a little bit different with listening to music.
Yeah. Well, that's cool though. The wide range. There's so much good stuff out there. And so like let's start veering a little bit towards like justice or
Mm,
music changing things in the world. Like what are your thoughts there? Like as you've been in music for a long time,
yeah.
inspired by music for a long time, making music now. I mean, what are your views on how art can like create social impact or make things that are broken in the world beautiful or more
Yeah.
whole? You got anything there?
I've got tons there.
All
I
right.
think music plays a massive role in that stuff because laws and everything, they're important and they matter, but they don't ever change the heart of man. And so this is where I think
Wow.
music plays a massive part.
Yeah.
Music can do things that nothing else can, as far as the way that it hits people deep in their hearts, and it stirs emotions. It leads them to places that other things don't. And so, if we believe that God is the ultimate creator, He's definitely going to encounter everybody through creation and creativity all the time.
Wow.
And so, I think. Yeah, laws are super important, but they never change the heart of man. And so this is where I
Wow.
think art and creativity come in. But, I always say to people, a song can change a nation, a song can change a generation, and it's true. I mean, music is so powerful in what it can do and the way it can cross borders, bring people together. Um, that when it's done from a healthy place, it's one of the most powerful things that we can encounter on Earth.
Yeah, I love that. Talk about that a bit, like in your journey, some of the ways that you've seen song bring change or
Yeah,
music bring change. And you just mentioned like coming from a healthy place. What do you mean by that? Like maybe unpack that a little bit.
yeah. I think hmm, I want to be careful how I say this because I think everyone
Sure.
should have the freedom to create whatever they want to create, or like write songs about whatever they're feeling or emotions or whatnot. But
Absolutely.
I we have a lot of really broken people writing songs from that place that then go become popular, and then people sing brokenness over themselves whether they know it or not. You know,
Wow.
there's a lot of vengefulness, like, oh, screw my ex-boyfriend, or I'm gonna get back at them, or there's a lot of that, and especially in pop music, that I just think is really unhealthy because it doesn't lead to anywhere like joyful or hopeful for anybody. There's no resolution for any of it. It just leads to more bitterness and vengefulness and jadedness. And so that's why I say when you write it from a healthy place where there's some hope, where there's truth, where there's joy, that's attached to it, or from that place where it's actually going to lead people into a healthier place rather than singing these, heavy, destructive things over themselves, whether they know it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's big. Wow. And then maybe just some of the shows that you've been a part of and things that you've seen in those settings. Like so you're doing house stuff, DJ, your musician name, stage name is King Topher.
Yep.
I'm sure you've seen a lot because I know, I mean, like my journey
Yeah.
is a probably like a drop in the bucket, but I was definitely seeking and like a young 20 something year
Yeah.
old, very hungry for another world, actively using drugs, but like music happened to be a real sort of transport for me. And I would
Yep.
go to shows and feel like this sense of like, wow, there's more that's going on than meets the eye. Like, what are you seeing in your context when you're doing shows and you got a bunch of hungry, seeking people?
Yeah. I always tell people, because people, one of the first things people ask me is like, well, what's it like? And all these people are drinking and partying and doing drugs and all this stuff. And, 'cause I don't drink. And it's not because I'm like anti-alcohol. I just don't enjoy it. So I don't do it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but it's so funny because people are like, oh, how can you be around this? This is this thing. And I'm like, I mean, it depends how you look at it. Like, I don't agree with those choices, but they're doing something that they're trying to have an encounter or an experience,
Yeah.
which is what we're wired for. We're wired for something deeper than here, and so I get their motive. Their motive is they're doing what they're wired to do, for an encounter, for an experience, to encounter something bigger than what is here. The problem is we got to just click it a little bit to the right and maybe get it towards where it's supposed to be, not this counterfeit version that the world has to offer. And I think I'm less offended. I mean, I just don't get offended by people making those choices, because if they've never been shown the real thing, we can't get mad at them for not choosing the real thing.
Totally.
And I'm not justifying their behavior by any means. They can make their own choices. They're adults, but I get why they do it. I
Yeah.
understand that. Uh, and so my hope is that me being in those places and having conversations and DJing and playing these shows from a different place and a different perspective, and releasing certain things into the atmosphere, that maybe they're going to have an encounter with the real thing and not the counterfeit. And that can be a moment where their heart just gets adjusted a little bit this way, and then it's pointed towards true north again. And um, so that's my heart on that type of stuff. I mean, people have been taking substances alongside music since, I don't mean, from any, you read history forever. That's, people have been doing
Yeah.
it because music, it is this thing that leads you to something, to dream bigger, to think bigger than just what's here in front of us. And so, yeah, I'm way less offended by that. It's sad though. I mean, you see some really dark stuff, like crazy dark stuff where you're just like, wow, it's really unfortunate that you're in this place where this is what you're doing and these are the choices you're making.
Yeah.
At the same time, music has taken me all over the world. I've been to countries, I've been to Pakistan, spent a bunch of time in China, played shows there, like all over Europe, all over North America. And it leads you to these amazing, beautiful places and cultures where you get to share, something different than maybe anything I've ever experienced before with them, in
Yeah.
places that the gospel will probably never be warmly welcomed, when
Totally.
pastors and people are never going to be invited to these countries. Like, I get
Totally.
to go as a musician, just do it a little bit differently,
Yeah.
which I love that. And you get to meet amazing people all over the world. Like, you're meeting a homeless, crippled person in Pakistan and having a conversation, and then, I'm having dinner in Chicago with a billionaire, the Playmate of the Year, and a guy who just won the Stanley Cup, and you're like, geez, this is just
Wow.
weird. The places this stuff takes you, and it's like, all right, God, you've put each of these people in front of me for a reason. I'm just going to love them, and let's see what happens.
That's crazy. And is that a piece of your drive, your motivation? Like you're really, this is my mission is in playing music. Like this is just part of my destiny. I get to meet people.
Yep.
Um, do you think there's something transformational in the music too? Like
Yeah.
as that energy is going out, like there's maybe places in people's spirits being reached or
Yeah. I mean, that's the heart of it. I mean, everything, I say this to people that ask, like, oh, do you make worship music? Do you make this? I'm like, I make music from a place of worship. It doesn't sound like you think it's worship music, but it is. And the heart behind everything, whether it's a song, the shows, the record label, the branding, it's all literally to hopefully lead people into encounter with Jesus.
yeah,
That's just it. Like, it's very simple. It's very cut and dry. Like, whatever it is we're doing, the ultimate goal is, no matter how great the song does or doesn't do, or how big the show is or anything, it's like, this is an opportunity for people to know who their dad is.
wow,
And hopefully what we're releasing with the lyrics and just what has been poured into those songs and prayed over those songs, that
yeah,
when they get played in the club, whether I'm there, whether someone else is playing them, that
yeah,
something's getting released that is going to bring people closer to home.
wow.
That's the heart behind all of what we're doing.
That's beautiful. I love it. Yeah, I mean, like in my journey, I definitely wasn't listening to Christian music, but
Mm,
the like hunger for something else. Yeah, it's interesting how the Lord rides on music. It is kind of otherworldly. It's like I don't know, like a portal. You're like
yeah.
getting through the logic and into someone's spirit. And
Yep.
even whatever secular artists, like the Lord would use the stories that they were telling to like reveal the heart of man, right? And
Yeah.
like reveal your state. And the Holy Spirit's really good at like meeting people where they're at,
Yep.
wherever they're at. Do you encounter much? I don't know if you've had encounters with people that kind of verify their own hunger, their own quest, their own journey, whether you're on stage or just having dinner with folks after shows. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like that's just like the universal state of humanity. We're like on this quest, we're
Especially
hungry.
right now, people
Okay.
are, so much of what people put their security in over the last couple of years has been decimated, shaken, and, I mean, it's been very obvious that what the world has to offer just isn't really that great. It's not stable. It's not secure.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of people have kind of come to that realization, because life was pretty good for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. Like, especially people that come to my show, like, they probably make decent money, and they're going out and they're partying, they're having fun with friends. Like, life's
Mhm.
they're pretty content. And then all of a sudden COVID happens, everything gets shattered, shredded, and they're sitting there going, wow, like, there has to be more to this. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, you get into lots of conversations. I remember specifically, there's one, in the green room before a show in China, and there was another DJ that was in there, and there's some conversations and some activity going on in the green room, and he just came over and was like, hey, I noticed, like, there's something just different about you, like, you're not engaging in this and in that.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want to know what it is, because, like, I really like whatever it is that is going on with you compared to what's going
Mm,
on over there. And
that's
I
cool.
am I had never talked to this person. I didn't have any, like, crazy conversation. I was just kind of sitting there smiling, just enjoying my time and whatever. And I was like, you want to know what it is, bro? He's like, yeah, I do. I was like, okay, it's Jesus. He's like, wow, like, that's crazy. He's like, can you pray for me? I was like,
Wow.
yeah. And so I just prayed, and he's like not a Christian, but he
Yeah.
was just like, I want whatever you have. And so I prayed for him, and he's like, well, I just felt peace like nothing else. And and so people are hungry, and people are way more open, especially when it's not coming from a place of attacking or condemnation. People
Yeah.
are super receptive. Um, we're at a show last year, and there's kind of a team of people that came, and people got healed, people got delivered, people gave their life to Jesus. Just
Wow.
out in the crowd, like while I was playing, people were going around and talking and just loving on people. And it's like, all right, this is a real thing. Like, God will meet anyone anywhere.
That's
Why not
awesome.
at a festival or a club?
Totally. I love it. That's awesome, man. It like kind of a different focus. I'm thinking about how music can sometimes like, create movement and social
Mm,
change type stuff, big things. Like I know bands like the Beastie Boys like really put a spotlight on what was happening in Tibet. And
yep.
you have like, you know, food projects way back in the 80s. And, who's to say if it's all effective and
Yeah.
and it actually works, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. And not that that's a part of your not that that's a part of your
Oh man.
mission. Not
I
not
gotta
that
be
you're like, hey, I
careful.
want
I
to
gotta be
like,
careful on this topic. But
okay.
um I especially with the Roe v. Wade stuff that happened on Friday, it
Yeah,
was pretty wild to watch on social media, just the reaction all across the board. Because I got a bunch of pastors and
totally.
Christians, and then I got everyone in the music industry, and then I got friends from all over the world.
Yeah.
I just sat back and was like, this is just wild to watch this unfold on social media, and the people feeling this need. They have to have a statement about everything right now. Anything that happens in culture, they've got to have a statement and a stance, and got to be really bold. And then the belief that their opinion really makes a difference on social media, like that's confusing to me. Um, the aggression behind so much, and I'm not just talking about the Roe v. Wade stuff, but just like over the last couple of years, like it's just been.
Oh man.
And I guess I'm at this place now where I care. I just don't care what artists have to say about societal issues. I don't, and um, yeah, unless you like
I love it.
have a like a justified reason to be speaking into a topic, I just don't want your opinion anymore. Like I don't care. Um, because social media has given everyone this really inflated sense that their opinion is this super important thing that the world has to have, or else we're going to miss out. And I just
Right.
don't agree with that. I just think
Yeah.
I would just love it if everyone just actually didn't post on social media about the latest thing and had conversations with real people that
Yeah.
could actually be fruitful and lead to some sort of engaging interaction that,
Yeah.
no, I don't think the world's ever gotten better because of an argument on social media.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and
and
that's that
I
thing.
know it's there are good causes that people get behind. I
Sure.
mean, as someone who's been signed to these massive record labels and dealt with some things, did do I think they're super genuine? Like, that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But if someone feels really, I also at the same time believe that if you feel really convicted, no matter where you're at, like speak on a topic, like, and you
Sure.
think you're supposed to share, like you can. But
Sure.
my personal take right now, it's just like I don't know. I follow you on social media. I really enjoy your music. Like I don't need your latest political belief about this thing or that thing. And I
I
guess
think
yeah.
I
I'm
think
way
that's
less.
really, really
Yeah.
profound, really astute. I think it's like it's like a riptide that people get sucked up in. I talked to somebody that's much younger than myself, and basically her assessment of like making a difference in the world was if I don't post about it on social media, I'm not actually making a difference. And so I'm like, okay, well, that's your view, that's your lens. That's crazy to me that your assessment of mission is I have to say something on social media versus
Doing
like,
something.
yeah, like, or staying in your lane, doing something that you have real authority in, maybe going the long haul to like figure something out before you
Yep.
start talking about it. Um, that's a big deal. I love your thoughts there. And I do think it's kind of a phenomenon, right? It is like something that's unique to this period of time or this
Yeah.
current moment we find ourselves in. Because I don't think that was true before the advent of social media.
It's like a tribal marker. It's like a filter people use to determine,
Yeah,
are you with me or are you against me? Are you in this tribe? Are you in that tribe? Do you fit here? Do you fit there? That's
yeah,
more of what it's used for rather than actually having an impact on whatever the topic is. Like,
yeah,
you see these famous people and celebrities make comments about everything, and it's just, look at me, I'm saying the thing to fit in with this crowd. But like, is anything actually being done? Like, no.
yeah,
And that's where I think I just am like, all right, guys, like we need to just grow up and
yeah.
do things rather than talk about things all the time.
I love that. Yeah, and I do think the other side of that same coin is like, can we tell stories that are not preaching and that are informative and that open eyes? And an artist, I can't call him my friend, but I know him, that was doing some art around what trafficking is,
Hmm.
what trafficking isn't, and it was visual art paintings. And I'm like, wow, this is a really powerful medium. Like
Yeah.
you're putting something in front of people that maybe people don't know about. This is, a dozen years ago, maybe before it was as popular to talk about trafficking. And so I do think there's value there. Like when an
Totally.
artist can tell a story and it's something meaningful to them, but it's not like whatever, riding that riptide or just jumping on a political bandwagon. I don't think these issues are ever political. I think they're always people. It's always about how are people being impacted. And yeah, I just have that more like wonder and speculation about how artists
Yeah, but
can
this is,
bring
I think,
shift.
the
They can bring
beautiful,
up stuff that like, wow,
yeah.
I never thought of it that way.
And that's the beauty of art and creativity, is that you can shed light on or share perspective or a topic or an issue or something in a way that it isn't combative. It isn't
yeah,
like, you can do it in a way that is just, I don't know, that's going to hit people differently. And that's what I think is beautiful about art and creativity, is that it can do things that other things can't. And I love when artists tell stories.
yeah,
Um, it Yeah, I don't know. It almost shows like a maturity of
good.
you being able to take this thing and share it in this beautiful way of creativity. Like you've spent time with it, you've wrestled with this, you've crafted this, like you care about it. I love when people do that. I'm not a huge fan of like, I got 140 characters on Twitter, I need to shoot my mouth off on whatever it is. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't take anything, but actually engaging in the process of creating something does.
I love what you're sharing. I think it's really important. And I don't, I mean, I just can't imagine there's not a lot of people that don't resonate with that idea. I'm sure there's so many people sick of that tide that's out there. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, what's going to be trumpeted on social media this week? And what's the thing people are going to be pissed off about this week? And yeah,
The sad thing is, though, is there's a lot of pressure that artists feel that if they don't do it, they
mm,
don't engage, then they're going to be shunned. And you didn't say anything, you didn't
yeah,
engage in this, you didn't do that. It's almost like a worse punishment than saying something that isn't the popular thing, or whatever it is. Like, so people then, whether they think they need to say anything or not, they make some sort of statement, they engage in the process. I'm just like, man, this is bizarre, because I just don't operate like that. um,
yeah.
but I guess peer pressure leads people to do things that maybe they shouldn't.
Yeah. Oh man, that's always true. Yeah, and having that security and like you're grounded, that would be like you're kind of referring to earlier, like things coming from a healthy place and like you're motivated to create out of a different sort of space. Then like I have to have something to say about this. If I don't have
Yeah.
something to say about this, then I'm not relevant or I don't matter. And yeah, that's a deep insecurity that probably a lot of artists have to wrestle through, huh? And like come to terms with like where their worth is. And
I mean, that's a typical artist struggle that you see, is uh, a lot of insecurity, a lot of, who am I, and do I matter? Does my art matter? I mean, being creative is vulnerable. It's really different than being an accountant. Like, no offense to accountants, we need them, they're great, but art and creativity is just a very different, vulnerable process where I think if you don't know who you are and you're not secure in who the Lord made you to be, and in that, whew, this is why you see so many artists and burnout and mental breakdowns and suicide and drugs. And it's because, the vulnerability really forces their insecurities up to the top, and then they have trouble navigating that.
Yeah, and I would imagine like you're as an artist, it's like, I mean, it's so a part of your identity. You can't separate your artist self from yourself. And then maybe, I mean, we're kind of going a different direction here, but it's great. Like I would imagine there's dynamics. Maybe you're not creating things you want to create or that you feel like are good. I would imagine like that could be a tough place to be. Like, where's that gift? Why isn't stuff coming out of me? Maybe you start questioning yourself. I don't know
Yep.
what's that side of the journey been like for you?
I mean, it's been a little bit different for me. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, so you just get a bit seasoned, and you can
Okay.
navigate the ups and the downs a little bit differently than before. But
Yeah,
like, I just know my worth and who I am is never attached to anything I do creatively.
that's good.
So no matter how a song performed or doesn't perform, has nothing to do with who I am as a person, as a husband, as a dad.
Yeah,
Has nothing to do with it.
that's awesome.
And so I'm able to really well. I mean, do I want things to do well? Because you want whatever you put your hands to be fruitful and successful. So
Yeah,
there's that. But I know that my actual value of who I am has nothing to do with my music.
yeah,
And so I'm grateful that I'm at that place, and that I know that who I am, who the Lord made me to be, my value comes from Him. What He says about me, that's it. And the music is something else. It comes out of a relationship with Him, but is not the relationship with Him.
it's awesome.
Um, and so, yeah, I have friends that they put a record out, it doesn't do what they hope, and it puts them into this tailspin, and they're questioning who they are. And
Wow.
I'm like, man, that's just dark. Like, I just wish you knew that. And then I get to speak into their lives a little bit and share, which is cool. But it's a typical artist thing to really wrestle with identity and value based on how
Yeah,
your art is received,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is it's how the enemy wants to. Hey, they're like, oh, they're rejecting your art. That means they're rejecting you. Like, that's the lie that he tells people.
yeah. More on that, like just the community dynamics as artists. Like, what does that look like? Like supporting each other, strengthening each other in the mission, or is the artistic creative journey more isolating?
It, I mean, it can be both. I mean, I
Yeah,
spend a lot of time sitting by myself in a room working on music, but
yeah,
there's also with my record label, there's a kind of a core group of us that we all talk, and we're collaborating and working ideas and sending stuff back and forth, and getting together and praying together and encouraging each other and just hanging out, whatever it is. We realize the value of community and how important it is, that you can't do this on your own. And
yeah,
so we've really, really invested a lot of time and effort into that. But the reality is, you do spend a lot of time by yourself, whether it's in the studio or on airplanes or in a hotel in a random city in a random country. You're there for 36 hours, and you play the show, and you don't know anyone there, and you don't speak the language. And so,
wow,
yeah, I mean, that's just part of it. And so, I mean, the beautiful thing is now we've got these things. And so you can keep in touch with people and FaceTime and all
yeah,
that while you're anywhere in the world. But
sure,
yeah, you have to navigate that of, or can you be comfortable in who you are, you know,
yeah,
when you're by yourself and it's not fun and comfortable.
totally, totally. Yeah, back to that groundedness and like having some security and being rooted. Yeah, it's good. Anything I haven't led us towards that's in your mind? Just talking about creativity and in general.
Oh
It's really
man, I mean, I
fascinating.
could talk for hours on creativity, but I think
Yeah,
something I've been thinking about a lot lately is just um, how the church loves to send missionaries to countries, to cities, and plant churches and things like that, which are all great things.
sure.
I actually I'm biased because I love the music industry, but I actually think if you really want to make an impact on culture, you're going to help support artists and fund creativity, because you can reach way more people when it hits in a deeper way
That's
than
awesome.
necessarily planting a church. Like, I don't know if we need more churches. I think we need more people who carry the kingdom out into the world.
Yeah.
And you've got someone like The Weeknd, who last time I checked, he was the number one artist on Spotify with like 84 million monthly listeners or something like that. And it's like he is um he's leading 84 million people every month with his music and his creativity.
Wow.
He's pastoring the next generation of kids and people, and no church will ever be able to compete with that. And it's like, well, what if we actually supported and funded artists and creatives who are excellent? They need to be excellent in their craft. I'm not saying like just put crappy stuff and try and make it big. No, like people who are excellent but carry the truth of who they know who they are. They know who the Lord is. They love the kingdom and they want to see that out there. Like, what if we funded a generation of artists that could go out and do that? Like, what would it look like? You
Wow.
know, if you want to, yeah. That is what I've been thinking about. Is almost like this new version of like missional funding and sending compared to what has happened. And this is maybe an unpopular take, but I would just ask people, is like, well, has the last model worked very well? Like, I mean, take a look at the world. Like, I mean, it's a fair question to ask. Like, is it actually making a difference?
Yeah.
And sure, in some places it is, like, sure, but it's like, I think we could be a bit more strategic and engage with how we want to see the kingdom advance and see people really encounter the love of the Father. That it needs to look a little bit different than maybe it did in the past. And I think funding the arts and creativity and artists to get out there, I think would be really, really powerful. What it could have on a cultural, on a cultural and generational level, I think it'd be huge.
I love it. Have you seen any kind of movement in that?
We're trying to do something right now, and it's been really interesting to see the reaction. People are like,
Yeah.
huh, okay.
Yeah, I would think a lot of people would be on board with that.
Well, yes, but this is where people love the idea of it, but no one will put their money where their mouth is.
Okay.
And this has been my frustration that I've encountered with stuff like this, is because it isn't the typical thing. It looks different. It's a bit new. It's a bit on the pioneer front edge that, there's been a little bit of a hesitancy to like, oh, I really like that idea. I've been praying for, oh, we'll pray for you. We'll pray for you. It's like, that's great.
Okay.
But like, you know, so it's interesting. I believe that we're going to see like some really amazing stuff happen in this area.
Yeah.
Like, not just with us, but just with like tons of stuff. I think there's a new, almost like mentality and approach that the church is going to step into and is stepping into, where we're actually like, oh no, the arts matter. This is a way to really make an impact on culture. And I'm excited to see what it looks like, because I think it will be incredible.
Yeah, because I mean, I can't imagine people arguing that point, but I hear what you're saying about like, okay, you got to put your money where your mouth is. I think all of us understand culture is shaped by the arts. Like the
Yep.
arts it's this incubator, and then that germinates and spreads into life. I love your statements earlier about laws don't change people's hearts. Like it's really the songs we're listening to, the poetry we're reading, the films
Yep.
we're watching. I wonder, have you guys scaled that on any level in terms of like a collective or is it more just, which is very important, but just more like, hey, here's how you can fund our record label or.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a website, www.btknft.xyz, and it's up there. And we built, everything is built and ready to roll. And I mean, it didn't help. I mean, it's right. We're doing it through crypto just because I think, I mean, the music industry is about to turn like all into that.
Okay.
That's definitely going to be the next thing. I mean, if people want to just give cash, they're more than welcome to, but we have this set up through crypto with Ethereum, because the music industry is about to experience a massive shaking. Like when Napster came out and kind of blew everything up, I
Yeah.
believe Web3 is about to do that to the music industry. And so we're like,
Okay.
let's be at the forefront of this.
Wow.
And did it with Kevin, who I think you know. And yeah, and so it's there. You can watch the video, the heart behind everything. You can see everything we're going to do and what it looks
Say
like.
that
And all
again, the site.
Yeah, www.btknft
Mhm.
.xyz.
Nice.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's really, I mean, and if anyone has any questions, shoot me a message on Instagram, shoot us an email. But I think this, like what we're doing, I think is almost a new way of missional funding where
Yeah.
you can fund things missionally, but then you actually get kickback and perks and not that it's I mean, yeah, like you can make money off of it. I mean, what a crazy concept. You're going to fund missionaries, but then you actually could make profit off of it at the same time. I mean, some people that might offend, but it's like, well, I don't know. It's a new way of giving and fun. It's like GoFundMe, but in like a new
Yeah.
crypto space.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow, that's exciting.
yeah,
Where do people go on your Instagram?
Royal King Topher.
Okay. Talk about your name, your stage name, your artist name. Like where
Well,
that
my
came-
name is Topher, so there was that. But I used to make music as Topher Jones, just my name, and I was on a massive tour, opening for this huge DJ. In the middle of it, the Lord was like, "Yeah, when this tour is over, I think it's time we start a new project. And it's going to sound a little bit different." And so, finished the tour, and then my middle name's Arthur, so I was like, "Cool, we'll call the project King Arthur." And did that for I think it was 6 years, 5 years, yeah, 6 years.
All right.
And then got into a little bit of a legal battle, and I could have won, but it's litigation stuff is so expensive, and so I was like, you know what, we're just going to change it to King Topher. So we did.
Yeah.
And
That's
that's
good.
where it's at. So it's been King Topher for like a year and a half now,
Sweet.
and things have been rolling, and some really cool stuff's been going on. So yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. Share some of your passion around the record label and what's going on there.
Yeah. I mean, it's always been a dream of mine to have a record label. I love creating music myself, but I also love helping other people, finish and hone in their records and then share them with the world, and really want to support and champion artists that we believe in and do it in a way that's a little bit different than how the music industry typically does it. I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of really big labels and a lot of small labels, and you see the ins and outs of how everyone works. And you're like, well, there's some good stuff and some bad stuff about all of them. And it's what would it look like to have a more kingdom version of a record label where it wasn't just about making money? Yes, you need to make money as a business, but it was like, how do we launch people into their destiny as an artist? How do we pull out the gold in them? How do we
Nice.
give them a place where they feel so championed that they can fully step into their identity as of who they are in this area of their life? And then from that, the type of creativity comes out of that person is just going to be a different level than if it's this contentious relationship with a record label. And so we've got 4 people, 5 artists. One of the guys has a couple different projects that are signed to the record label that are kind of the core group. And we've got a lot of really cool stuff going on. There's a big tour we're doing this fall, and a couple of them will be opening for me on the tour. And
Nice.
yeah, we're trying to really raise up a generation of artists that can just bring really hopeful, joyful, happy music to the world and into these places where people are making interesting choices in their life.
I love it, man. It's so exciting. How
Yeah.
do people find you on that tour? Is it just go to your Instagram, Royal King
Yeah.
Topher?
Instagram's definitely, we haven't announced it yet
Okay.
because it's still a couple months out.
All right.
But yeah, there's the album and there's the tour that'll be happening this fall.
Yeah.
And you can, so my Instagram is Royal King Topher. The record label is Bring the Kingdom.
Okay.
Just that on Instagram, Bring the Kingdom. So you can follow that there. But yeah, we'll be announcing a lot here in the next few weeks, and it's going to be exciting.
I
We're
love that,
excited for this
man.
fall.
Like championing others and taking away that like gnarly rift between producers and music makers. And I love that. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Well
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, it's needed. And I think, it's great to get a million prophetic words about me and my career and what things are gonna be happening and stepping into a lot of it right now, which is amazing. But it's like, yeah, if we really want to make an impact on culture, it can't just be me. Like it needs to be 1,000 people doing what I'm doing, with being so championed and honored and celebrated and given the ability to just step into, the fullness of who they are. Like we need that in culture. And
Yeah.
so it's like, all right, let's do that. Let's help raise up this next generation of people.
Yeah. It's good, man. Well, really, yeah, really a pleasure talking to you. Super inspiring. Thanks for being open with your journey, sharing your heart. So again, you guys can follow Topher at Royal King Topher. His record label is Bring the Kingdom. Also on his, both those are on Instagram. And then your guys' funding website is btknft.xyz.
Yep, that is correct.
That's a big idea, like an actual container to fund creative mission. I love that, man. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, we're trying to. I mean, right now we're trying to get 1,000 Ethereum, which when we launched it, that'd have been about $3 million. Now it's about $1 million. The crypto crash. But yeah, we have like everything of what we want to do, and I believe that it's going to happen, and we're going to be able to make a real big impact on culture. It's going to be amazing.
Man, I'm excited about your vision,
Yeah.
bro. I'm so glad you're running after these things.
It's a bit, I have moments where I just look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, am I crazy? It's like, all right, well, that's exactly where we need to be,
That's good, bro. Good
So,
job.
yep.
Well done.
Thank you.
Good. So appreciate the time with you. So we're going to keep having these conversations around creativity, justice. It's probably more like we're talking a lot about creativity, but it's fun.
We could talk more about justice if you want.
It feels good, dude. No, I love it. This has been perfect.
Yeah.
So with that, we're going to say adios. Again, thank you, Topher, for being with us, and we'll see you guys soon. Peace.
Have a good one.